Okay, so I think I have the height that I want. As you can see, I've done my best to kind of smooth out the middle to the best I can at this point. I can come back later on and clean that up some more, but I kind of like the height where I'm at here. It's a really good idea to, I mean, we get kind of lost when we're looking at the, working from this wheel and looking down at the top. You kind of get lost looking here, so it's really good to step back and look at everything from the side and see if it's the kind of shape that you want, or if it's, you know, the top's wobbly. You can kind of fix that later on too, but it's got a little high point which you can kind of tap down, I think, and you know, if there's spots that you think are higher than the other, just kind of check it from the side and see what you think. But overall, this is kind of a good start for me, I think. Now when it comes to the outside, you can kind of do whatever you want. If you wanted to blend all this outside together, you most certainly could. I kind of like a smooth inside to these things, and kind of a textured outside kind of gives them a nice look to them too. So what I might do is I might just smooth them together, but I might kind of come back and give it more of a vertical texture on the outside here. So using my trusty Frank tool here, I might just come and, keeping this nice and steady here, just do nice long blends up like this. Just a nice long smooth blend like that, and come and do the next row right next to it, and kind of leave that bumping texture, but just doing a nice vertical. This will add some strength, but it'll also kind of give it a cool texture on the outside too. And I can come back later on and clean this up a bit more, but just trying to get the rough in look for it right now. Putting these side by side just like that, as you can see. Just coming straight up the side of the cup. Fingered on the inside of this, obviously I don't want to distort the shape of the cup, so wherever I'm pressing against the cup, my finger's on the inside to kind of balance that out. I'm just kind of, it's like pressing it up against the wall. I don't want to distort the shape that I've made while I'm moving this. So I'll zoom around here real quick and speed this up so you can see what I'm looking for here. Okay, so you can see here I've kind of roughed out this shape. Obviously later on I'm going to come up and clean this up just a little bit on the outside. I don't want all these little rickety parts on here, so when this dries out a bit more, I'll come back and really clean this up with a moist sponge and try to get the edges here nice and clean. Clay is still kind of wet right now. I prefer to wait till it gets to more of a leather hard stage before I really start playing with this too much. But we got a basic cup shape here, which looks pretty good. Pretty pleased. Let's come back in a little bit and see how this finishes up. Okay, so off camera what I've done here is I've really come back with a kind of just a damp sponge and really kind of just try to clean up that vertical kind of texture I put on it. I really want it to be kind of subtle, so you know, I use the wooden tool, the Frank tool, pretty you know, hard at first, and then just to kind of get the basic shape that I wanted. Then I just came back and cleaned it up a little bit more. You know, looked at it from the side, and then what I also did is I kind of took the top, you know, centimeter or so, and really just kind of came around slowly and pinched that just so it was a thinner shape. You want a nice thin, you know, rim at the top that, you know, is easy to sip from. If you look at the mugs that are sitting around your house, you know, they're thin at the top. And it's just what makes it an easy thing to sip out of, you know. So coming in through here and really kind of pinching this down to the thickness that you want, and then once again hitting that rim and really kind of almost taking your sponge like this and bending it over like that and putting that little crease in there just to kind of smooth everything out, just so you get a nice smooth rim. And then spinning this guy and looking at the top and just kind of like spinning it and seeing, making sure that it's mostly, you know, circular. You can kind of squeeze it in the shape you want. And mine's got a little wobble to it, but that's okay. Shows that it's homemade. So I've got that going. I'm going to go ahead and make a real simple handle using some of the coils that I have left over here. So I'm going to find a section that I think is pretty equal in thickness. I'm going to cut this off here. Take this guy. Now when you make your handles, the biggest problem that I have, or at least my students have when they make handles, is they make this, you know, real delicate cup, and they make this gigantic, you know, really thick, obtrusive, hard to hold handle. So you gotta make them thin. They don't need to be like that super thick. So just taking a real simple thin piece of clay like this. I'm going to even roll this out just a little bit more. Just kind of thin it out just a little bit more, because you don't want a super thick handle. I mean, you want something you can hold on to, and you know, it's going to seem flimsy at first because it's wet clay and it's going to seem like it's going to break, but you know, getting something really super thick, you know, it seems structurally sound at first, but once this gets fired and glazed, that's on there permanently. It's not going to break off. So, you know, be real careful with the thickness you choose when it comes to a handle here. So rolling something out like this, and then, you know, deciding what you want to do here. I'm obviously not going to use this whole thing, but I might kind of do that same technique we used when we coiled the bottom here, and just kind of pinch a little part like this, coil it around just to give a little decorative piece like that at the beginning. Something like that. It's kind of nice. Maybe just that. So having something like that. We'll cut this guy off here. Alright, so using this is the top piece here that'll curl into that, and then maybe just a nice smooth handle here. Maybe I'll just curl the bottom here just a little bit too, just to kind of give it a little coil like that. Alright, something real simple, smooth. I can get a finger around that, maybe a little bit tighter down here, you know, to test fit it, see how it feels in your hand, you know. You don't need much here. That feels like you can get your hand in there to do it, and that looks good. So I'm just going to go with that. So keeping that tight in there, that tight in there. I might come back and just get this guy a little bit with a little score in here, just so this stays together a bit more. Like that. Potter's quick method to instant slip is spit. I don't know if you guys knew that. So, getting those two guys together. And I'm going to let that harden up just a bit more before I attach it, because I don't want it to sag too much. So I'll let it sit like this, and I'll let this harden up a bit more, and then once they're to the leather hard stage and I feel comfortable with where they are, I will attach it to the mug. So I'll let that dry out a little bit. We'll come back and attach it and be done. Okay, so our cup has been somewhat dried out to the point where I can pick it up and kind of hold it now without worrying about it, you know, being misshapen too much. Rim's kind of dried out where I can set it on the bottom, or on its rim or whatever, and really make sure that the base is nice and cleaned up. Once again, using my wet sponge can be a good way to just kind of get rid of all your other stuff. Just be real gentle with the rim of your cup. You don't want to distort that at all. Okay, so let's go ahead and add this piece that I made here earlier as the side of it here. I want that to look nice. Just kind of pick a spot where you think it would look good. Right there. Try different spots and see what you think. I've kind of got this bump on this side. I think I'll do it opposite the bump, so the bump kind of sticks out a little bit. But I think, and luckily I have these vertical lines here that'll let me line this up pretty well. But you know, look at it from the side, make sure everything looks good. You know, figure out whether you want that sitting there. I think I want it just kind of right in between. I think that'll be a good spot right there. So once you figure out where you want it, we will definitely slip and score this guy. So I want this guy to stick on here real well. So a good score on that, and a good score on this. Figure out once again where this is going to be. Looking there, I think that looks like a good spot right on this guy. So just kind of sitting on there, seeing where it's going to be, picking it up. You know, right in that area looks good. And then got your basic everyday slip here. Can never have enough, I don't think. You can always wipe away whatever you don't use, but it acts as a nice glue to attach this permanently. So with your finger on the inside, so you have something to press against here. When you see the slip squeeze out, you know you got some good pressure on it. That's what you want. Wiggle it back and forth a little bit. Wiggle it back and forth, and it really just causes those grooves on each one where you scored to really come together and become one. That slip glues them together, so it gets a nice bind. So a good wiggle back and forth on each one. Come back and check the side, make sure it's straight here. My bottom is a little offset. I'm just going to pull it over just a little bit. Check it again. From the side, that looks nice. Give it a good spin from the top. You can see that it's this way a little bit, so I just want to kind of tilt it back like that. Just checking it from all angles, never hurts. Okay. Now that I've got that, it's basically just cleanup time now. Getting rid of all the slip on there. There's lots of tools you can do this with, you know. Usually start out just by using my Frank tool here and just getting the excess off. Once I have that, I'll come back with a sponge and some little rubber tip tools that I can use to kind of really clean up any spots that I see. And I'll hit this handle a couple times just to clean up any bumps or cracks that are starting to appear, because the handle will dry out faster than the cup because it's just a thinner piece of clay, so you kind of watch that. You want to let this dry slowly, a little bit at a time, so let it dry in the bag a little bit with the one end open is probably a good idea, and then the next day come back and do it a little bit more. And it's never just a good idea just to put this out somewhere and let it dry all at once, because tend to crack, and you don't want that. You put all this work into this, you want to have a nice piece that's going to last you a while. So it's a good little coffee mug. I'd love to see what you try to do. So if you're in my class, you'll be making one for me. If you're not in my class, you're just watching this on YouTube, make one. Post a video. I'd love to see it. So show me what I'm doing wrong, because I know that I'm doing a lot wrong. I know I'm doing some things right, so tell me what you think. That's it.